Okay, so we are going to do a super quick breakdown. Oops, it's a daisy. Didn't work the way I'd hoped. We'll do a super quick breakdown of my Dragon Lord life. Hereby, I want to pronounce this Zathril. Let's go with Zathril. So, Dragon Lord. What is Dragon Lord? Dragon Lord is a fighter archetype. It was released just last month at the end of February in 2024. Generally speaking, it is fantastically good. The Dragon Lord on the surface seems strange because if we go through it, the character gets fighter feats, but they don't get them at quite the same way that other classes, or at least the other fighters, get them. So if we go to our fighter class feats down here, you'll see Truth for One's Might, Thraxada's Instinct, and Vela's Fury. So what these things do is they give you morale bonuses to certain things. One is tactics, which is the one I took. Another is melee power, and another is physical resistance, magic resistance. There's a bunch of different ones, and you get those at levels, I believe, 1, 4, 8, and 16. If I'm not mistaken, I can throw that up in the tag later. And at first you're like, wow, I don't like, what is that doing for me? How is that better than a regular fighter? Well, the thing is, what you get to do is this. I can't do that in a public area. You get to roar. And the Dragon's Roar is like your bread and butter ability. Can't remember if the Dragon's Roar is actually what the Dragon's Roar allows you to do, it's basically a cone effect in front of you that's an AoE stunning effect. And that by itself is fantastic. The Dragon's Roar is actually DC is 10 plus highest of strength and charisma mod plus stunning bonuses plus breath weapon bonuses. So basically my DC right now standing here is 89. If I'm buffed all the way up, it's 107. I could probably get that higher with epic gear and stuff, but or I should say legendary gear, but alas, that is not the case since I just don't have the patience to farm it all out. But that being said, it works on everything. It works on undead, it works on constructs, it works on oozes, it works on anything. Anything is affected by Dragon's Roar, which gives the fighter the one thing that practically no other melee class has meaningfully, which is crowd control. And that small amount of crowd control is fantastic. Plus, the bonuses in the Dragon Lord tree, they all affect all your tactics. So your trip and your sunder and whatever, it's all going to be affected by the bonuses in that tree, which is amazing. So yeah, it was definitely fantastic. Other than that, that seemingly small change kind of just behaves like a fighter. I mean, it really does behave like a Kensei fighter in a lot of ways. There's a little bit, they're still working out the kinks. It shares the Ravager tree with Barbarian, but it's got some issues. I mean, it works, sort of, but they spent like the last few weeks since they've released it patching problems with that particular tree. But it does add quite a bit of durability and DPS. Now I got people in front of me. Can't do a thing. All right. So anyway, what are we looking at here? We'll try to ignore Wingy Boy over here. So the cores. What did I take? Soul of the Red Dragon. You have become commune with the Red Dragon's soul, granting the power of fire to abilities in this tree. Like I think this is for real here. Anyway, let's do that. Add +1 to your tactical feat DCs. So what happens is that you choose a dragon type. So you take red, blue, green, whatever it is your fancy is. It adds that dragon's element. So fire, electric, acid, poison, and frost, I believe, are the options. I took fire, not because I was particularly enamored of the damage it does, but because of the resistance it gives you. Because all of these up the left-hand side here are adding resistance to the element of your draconic soul. The second line vertically all the way up are tactical feats. So this is something that they actually cleaned up quite a bit. Like everything that's connected is connected in a very obvious way. So you know exactly where it's going and what it's doing. They're not kind of scattered all over the tree, which is great. You do get a strong will save as Dragon Lord. Fighter normally has a weak will save, but you get a strong will save as Dragon Lord, which also helps quite a bit. So additionally I took these just because I had to fill up the tree. This is a very efficient tree. You can get effectively everything you need out of the Dragon Lord tree at 41 points. I only have 41 points in this tree, and I don't think I lost a single thing out of it. You do get Fighter Haste Boost, which is the strongest action boost in the game for a melee. I took the improved second strikes for strike through. You do have options for double strike and 2-weapon fighting for offhand strike chance. Might in order. This is another huge selling point of this particular archetype. Battle Trance cannot be used while raged. You gain the insight bonus to attack, damage, and the DC of tactical feats equal to half of your strength modifier for 120 seconds. When you use the Dragon's Roar, you have a chance to restore 1 charge. So this is the strength Battle Trance. This is like your Divine Might or what have you, but it can work on strength. So you can like double down on your strength, and it's amazing. There's also another one, I believe it is Draconic Conviction. And that gives you, it's exactly the same as Divine Might, and it gives you your charisma, half of your charisma bonus to it. I took strength because why split? There's really not much of a reason to do so. I realized that some of these DCs, you could probably get them higher with more charisma. That being said, yeah, here's the Dragon's Roar. Yeah, heights of strength and Chaw mod. So those are additive. So you don't want to dump Chaw entirely if you can help it, because it is adding to your breath DCs. But again, I didn't really spend a whole lot in my Chaw, and it still worked. By Chaw, I mean charisma. So lead the charge. You can dash up to 30 feet and deliver a strike. This is just like the shield charge. What else do we have in here? Untouchable Soul. You have displacement, giving opponents a 50% chance to miss you due to concealment. This cannot be dispelled. It is huge because you're losing. You actually don't lose that much defense, but you're not going to really want to spend, in my opinion, a lot of points in the Stalwart Defender tree. So having permanent all-on undispellable displacement is fantastic. So that really is an incredibly beneficial ability. And then the top tier here, the tier 5s are actually great. The soul scales, you gain 15 magical resistance rating plus 25 confidence bonus to max HP, and you have a 5% chance to ignore damage to the element of your draconic soul. That's incredible. Cooldown of your trip, Sunder, Stunning Blow, and Dragon's Roar are reduced by 33%. Amazing. Plus 2 to your breath weapon DCs, which is awesome. Improved Dragon's Roar. Your Dragon's Roar now cowers enemies instead of dazing them. In addition, when you use Dragon's Roar, you gain a plus 20 morale bonus to damage versus helpless targets for 20 seconds. I have yet to determine what actually does and does not make something helpless, and I also cannot figure out what cowering does in any meaningful way. I'm sure it does something wonderful, but I'm not sure what, because even the wiki is not particularly open on what it actually that does. This is fantastic. Flight of Kings. This is your abundant step, and when you land, you get a 20% action boost to speed for 6 seconds, which is great. And of course, the coup de grace, which is Conqueror, gain a plus 2 combination bonus to critical multiplier with all weapons. That means that weapons with a wide critical multiplier are going to be your best friend. The Epic Sword of Shadows will be your weapon at epics, and if you don't have that, then you want whatever weapon is going to give you the widest possible critical threat range, possibly like the Epic Zoom Falchion out of Sands of Manectarin or something similar. Falchion is once again the kind of the go-to weapon for this. You can, in theory, go up into here and get the what do they call it? One of these things up here gives you is it this one, Critical Rage? That confidence bonus to threat range. So that's cool, but that confidence bonus to threat range will not make up for the multiplier. So you're better off to go with the tier 5 in the Dragon Lord tree by all steps. And then we come over here. These last handful of points, I only spent these at the very end at like level 20. So I've got like 7 points spent in the Stalwart Defender tree, just enough to get the Stalwart stance. I took the saving throws and a little bit of armor class. Didn't mean all that much. So the cores 1 to 5 in the Ravager tree. I found that the hate and mutilate didn't function. They didn't work. Like it goes off and you do get the additional damage and the additional threat, but you don't get any of the secondary effects that you're supposed to be getting from mutilate. They just don't proc. And in my experience, I couldn't see them. I don't know what, if I was doing something wrong or what, but I never saw them work against anything. So it would just, a lot of stuff just came up immune, and I'm not sure if that's bugged or not. So anyway, I spec'd out of that, and what I did was I took, do you like pain? I like pain. This is a small chance to gain 150% temporary hit points. This scales with 100% of your melee power. So I found that every now and again you get dinged, and then you get a whole heck of a lot of temporary hit points, which is great. And then after I hit back, when you're 20% chance to deal 6d8 bane damage to an attacker, this scales with 100% melee power. So again, something hits you, and then you're immediately going to do reactive damage to them, which is great. Draconic power attack. Your power attack feat does an additional 3 points of damage. So once you get this, it replaces your normal power attack feat. So just make sure that it's on. And then you do Cruel Cut, deals 3d6 Constitution damage as long as you damage your target, plus an extra d6 for every 2 character levels. Monsters with 0 ability score are considered helpless and receive plus 50% extra damage. So this is theoretically giving you your helpless damage, but I never saw anything. A lot of the mobs, especially red names and stuff, are immune to Constitution damage, and they're never reduced to 0. So I'm not sure how that's working. But yeah, but when it does work, it does a lot of Constitution damage when you add in Festering Wound. Cruel Cut additionally inflicts 3 stacks of Greater Festering Wound, which override stacks of Festering Wound if present. Each stack deals d6 poison damage, like an additional d6 poison damage for every 10 character levels you have. This damage scales with 200% melee power. In addition, enemies hit by Cruel Cut have their positive healing reduced by 50%. Not sure what's got not sure where Festering Wound comes in. Perhaps it was one of the early things, because this is rank 3. Just remember, when you use Cruel Cut, you gain plus 5 melee power for 10 seconds. In addition, targets hit by Cruel Cut take 68 slashing damage plus another d8 for every 2 character levels you have, which scales with 200% melee power, and have their movement rate slowed by 50% for 5 seconds. So this is pretty good. That slows things down. So what you don't want is things to run away from you, which is bad. You don't want that to happen on any melee. And then my 1 universal point was just an Inquisitive for additional attack. So yeah, really, there isn't a lot to say about the tree or the archetype itself. That's truly, what's the word I'm looking for here? Surprising. Like, it's a melee class. It handles like a melee class. It will play like every other melee class. The difference is that Draconic Roar. Once you have Draconic Roar, everything changes. All of a sudden, you can immediately crowd control everything around you, or at least in front of you, and that just makes all the difference in the world. A lot of quests that were really, truly miserable on like every other melee class, and I mean classes that I know how to play well and like Knight of the Chalice, were all a farce with the Dragon Lord. The ability to simply stop packs of mobs and just whittle down a bunch of them, because eventually they do, like, it doesn't last very long, especially in Reaper. They're only going to stay stunned for like 6 seconds tops, but that 6 seconds is enough to wipe a bunch of the most dangerous stuff out, and then you just clean up the trash when you're done, and then you kind of run around in circles a little bit till your dragon works, then you freeze them all again. It was fantastic. So it sort of reminded me in a lot of ways of Swashbuckler, even though it doesn't play the same way, but that ability to crowd control stuff and then sort of pick your targets to like control the fight was very good, except this has much better DPS than a Swashbuckler. So I was really impressed with that. So yeah, like there's not much to it. Second Wind is also arguably better than Lay on Hands, even though I had both because I'm an Aasimar, so I did have the racial Lay on Hands ability. But which again is something I would recommend to people. Aasimar is kind of like a sleeper. You wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to play melee Aasimar, but it actually does give you a significant amount of survivability. You do get healing amplification, you do get shaking off fear, you do get additional reflex saves, and you get bonus versus evil creatures, which is practically everything. Plus you get the Lay on Hands ability, right? Which they call healing hands, but that's helpful. So especially on a melee that doesn't inherently get heals. So anyway, yeah, it is fantastic. I don't know exactly only at 50 minutes here because I don't know what I can say about this that you would say about any other fighter. You bum rush everything. You charge in, you pick the biggest, heaviest, dirtiest weapon you can and beat and smack stuff over the head with it. There's not a lot of subtlety to this. The difference is that you can race in, as I say, yell at them with the Dragon's Roar. Everybody gets sad about it. You beat the crap out of them, you run to the next room. I was amazed at how survivable it was, even though I didn't have like spell healing, because a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't have heals, but like I didn't need them most of the time, like pots, and even in Reaper, like some pots and second wind in my healing hands, like that was good enough. And by the time I got to epics, I used renew out of the unyielding sentinel, and that was pretty much it. So I'll show you my my epic trees, and I apologize, I realize this is small, but until Standing Stone decides to give us a scalable UI, this is as good as it's going to get. But yeah, so most of my points spent, they're almost completely evenly split between Legendary Dreadnought and Fury of the Wild. So I didn't actually take any of the cores in Fury of the Wild because these are like unconsciousness range, and if you need unconsciousness range on this class, you did it wrong. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You like, get better at the game. Like, seriously, you should not have ever been close to getting wiped out. Between the massive amounts of hit points you get from the Ravager tree and just being an inherent fighter plus the 25% competence bonus puts like getting more hit points out of Stalwart Defender, like you should never, like it shouldn't get close. There's times when it gets dicey, but like between that heal and the healing hands I had and the second wind, like you should not be getting that low. So anyway, I had my standard 6 points in Unyielding Sentinel, enough to get the Divine Energy Resistance and Renewal. Sadly, Renewal was pretty lackluster because I don't actually have meta magics to bump it up, because I believe you have to have spell casting ability. You can't just take magical training. That's not enough. You have to have the ability to cast some spells to get meta magic feats, which sadly I did not have. So unfortunately I couldn't bolster my renewal in any way. But even still, at that, it was enough to like top off my maintenance healing, so I wasn't all that worried about it, because with past lives I had enough spell points. So I really only need this for energy resistance and for renewal, which is dirt cheap. It's like 5 spell points or something, whatever. It's like hilariously cheap. So I took all the cores in Legendary Dreadnought. I took 3 tactics DCs for my Dragon Roar, Dire Charge, the Mantle. Combat Brute gives me +1 weapon dice. I took Life and Death just because I had to get to the next tier, so I took 3 points in this for +10 healing application. That's very expensive. I took Esoteric Touch, gives me +1 imbue dice. I already had Ghost Touch on other places, so it didn't matter. +1 additional action boost charge, because I never used all my action boosts to begin with. I realized that a lot of people, when playing especially fighter classes, they live inside their action boosts. But that being said, I'm not that person, so I found out I never needed them. Your mileage may vary. If that's the case, then there's probably a better way to go about doing this, because up here I believe one of these, I think it's this one. Yeah, Dusk Surge. If you take Dusk Surge in the tier 5, it will regenerate action boosts and stuff. But again, at tier 5, that's like level 30. So like at that point, if you've been living without regenerating action boosts, not sure what to say. So I did take Epic Power and Precision. While Power Attack is active, you gain +6 critical hit damage before weapon multipliers. Momentum Swing, when you use your Legendary Dreadnought Epic Strike, enemies must now make a Fortitude save or be tripped. The trip DC is actually based on your stun modifier, so just be aware of that. Double Strike and Double Shot. Then up here, I took Kick them while they're down. While you're Legendary Dreadnought Mantle, you gain +15% damage to Helpless. You gain Lay Waste when you use your Draconic Epic Strike. Enemies must now also make a Fortitude save or be stunned. Strike with Fear. Your weapon attacks against creatures that are afraid, shaken, or have 5 stacks of Terror. And 1 stack of Vulnerability. You get Terror, I believe, over here. One of these things gives you Terror. I forget which one it is. I think it's the Mantle itself. Yeah, Terror. Every time your weapon attacks apply a stack of Terror. Terror is -1 melee and range power, -3 spell power, -1 AC. So as you're beating up on stuff, their power is lowering. And then at the top, I took Sundering Swings. Creatures affected by improved trip are also made helpless. This supersedes the improved trip effects. So, Creatures affected by improved Sunder take 75% fortification instead of the usual 25. This supersedes other improved Sunder effects. So I took that, and then of course the action hero boost, which is just all the boosts all at once. And then lacerator, when using a slashing weapon in your main hand, you gain +1 critical multiplier range rolls from 19 to 20. So this is how I played this out. Would I recommend doing all of this exactly this way? Probably not. Like again, I skipped honor or backstab and so on and so forth. Unparalleled accuracy. That's interesting. I don't know why that's square and all the other ones are an octagon. Anyway, so that was fine. Pretty standard stuff. Over here I took trip DCs. I did take the adrenaline hit. I skipped the mantle because I was going to use it. 2 points in MR and PRR, Primer Scream. Gird Against Demons because Cold Iron Bypass is handy to have. Embrace the Pain. When you drop below 40%, you immediately heal 2d10 positive healing, so healing in case you get low. Furious, +3 strength while raging. Adrenaline damage is increased by 75%. 2 points in Wild Weapon Strike Through to get +10%, which got me up to an even 200. And then I stopped because after that becomes extremely diminishing returns. Unquenchable Rage, reduce all damage except untype by 15% for 5 seconds after you consume a rage charge or use Primal Scream. You may also apply the effects of the heal spell to yourself, which scales with melee power. So this is like your running heal. Whenever your Primal Scream is off cooldown, you just bark again and you get the effects of a heal spell, which was a lot of healing for the record, even in Reaper. Overwhelming Force, Adrenaline now counts an additional 75% bonus to damage. Rank 3's foes struck by your adrenaline attacks are now knocked down for 4 seconds. Voice of the Fury doubles the damage and stat bonus of your Primal Scream. If adrenaline or quick attack is active when you use Primal Scream, the damage is tripled instead, and nearby enemies may have a 75% chance to become confused for 3 seconds, no save. And then lastly, this is to kind of tie in the Sundering Swings over here, I took the improved trip feat. Now bear in mind that this gives you the actual feat, so you don't actually get this bonus stacked on top. You have to pull it out of your feat thing and stick it on your hotbar to use as improved trip. And that does improve your trip DCs, which is great. So that was basically how I did that. My equipment loadout was pretty straightforward. It's all the standard heavy armor loadouts. So you're looking at, I'm just checking my time here. So you're looking at heavy armor, so Barovian Knight set. You're looking at the part of the family set from Sharn, and then your Epic Saltmarsh stuff. Try to get yourself an Epic Bloodstone, which is the best all-around DPS item in the game. I used this 20 to 32. I did use the Epic, let's see if it'll show me here, Epic Lizardfolk Tooth Necklace, which is also great. Strength 9, Shatter 11, Melee Alacrity, Insightful Seeker, Relentless Fury. That's fantastic. I wore my Crown of Butterflies right through from level 25 to 32 because it's just so impossibly difficult to argue taking it off. You have a 15% enhancement bonus to positive healing amplification, which stacks. You gain +10 enhancement bonus to melee power, which stacks, and +5 enhancement bonus to range power, which stacks. Winged Allure, Butterflies of the Crown tend to scratch your enemies. When you're hit or miss to melee combat, your foes have a chance to be fascinated, so that go off all the time. The other stuff doesn't matter, but I do have my Master's Gift in it, so I just left it. Plus I like the cosmetic. Amethyst Loop, True Sync, Blindness Immunity, Search Spot, and Reflex Save. All those things are handy. I slotted it with a Topaz at Death Block. Epic Salt Iron Plate. This is actually an awesome set of armor. Fortification 111, Sheltering 24, Protection, Shield bonus, and a Sapphire of Resistance, which I stuck in there. That's just like everything you want all in one place. Epic Salt Iron Brace for Insightful Strength 4, Sheltering 24, Fortitude, and Vitality. Can't remember if this is... That's Insightful Seeker. Yeah, so Insightful Strength is huge. Up until I got to, I think, level 27, I was actually using the Celestial Ruby Ring out of Sharn, which was Strength, because that was my stunning item, because stunning items are very hard to come by. But once I got to level 27, I was able to swap, and that so it freed up the slot, and I put on a Ring of Brutal Force, which is Strength 10, Fortitude 9, Profane, well-rounded Profane Life Force, and Mythic Ring Boost. And the reason I swapped it over is because I swapped out my treasured crocodile skin boots to get Epic Boots of the Innocent. Shout out to my guildies who helped me farm this out in the Epic Temple of All. This is probably the best overall tactics item in the game. It is Resistance 11, Speed 15, Vertigo 12, which is Trip, Stunning 12, which is obviously Stunning, Shatter, which is Sunder, and Greater Heroism all in one slot. So if there's a better tactics item, I'd love to know what it is, because this is pretty much it. And that was what allowed me to swap this ring out. But again, I was using the ruby ring right up until then. And this will make you laugh. These are the Hammer Fist, the level 15 Hammer Fist, because it has Insightful Double Strike, Cannith Infusion, Secret 8, and Insightful Deadly, all of which appear on practically nothing else. So there's really no point in taking these off, because there's nothing else you can really stick in this slot that's going to benefit you in the same way that those things would. So I just didn't bother. Epic Ethereal Ring, that's my ghostly speed and dodge item, and also my spell points, so that was great. Also at level 27, I had the Bronze Dragon Scale belt at level 15, and then after that it was the Epic Belt of Thoughtful Remembrance, Death Block 7, Constitution 11, Concentration 20, Resistance 11, redundant with the boots, but that's fine, Dodge 11%, Greater Regeneration, and a Sapphire of Natural Armor, because why not? And lastly, the last thing was my Epic Sailcloth Cloak, Dexterity 9, Insightful Deception 3, Accuracy 15, and Deadly 8. That's redundant with this, but I did need it to complete the Epic Saltmarsh set. A better person than me would have probably gone to the Soul Splitter on the Sharn docks and tried to farm out the legendary Cloak of Balance to get freedom of movement back into this build, which is the only thing that I missed. But like not that much. I do have the Eternal Pot, so I was able to like kind of substitute with my Eternal Flask of free movement. But that was about it. And after that, like, I mean, it's a fighter. It's as simple a thing as you can get. They're the sort of the base form. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's just, it gives you one additional trick up your sleeve that you can do. Do note that if you use, because you get the imbue dice, you do get like your element of damage as well to your string, so it sort of makes up for a little bit of the DPS you've been losing from the greater weapon focus and the greater weapon specialization out of Kensei. But at the same time, I also have weapon focus and weapon specialization. I think greater weapon specialization, because I am two-handed fighting. Let me just double check that to be sure, because I don't think we really need to go into that a whole heck of a lot. Let's collapse that, because I believe those are fighter specific feats. Yeah, I have all the tactical combatant feats. Yeah, the weapon specialization, slashing, and then greater weapon specialization, slashing, and I think the other ones might well be martial feats. Just double check that. Yeah, cleave and great cleave, obviously. Improve critical slashing, obviously. Improve sunder and improve trip, I got right at the very end. Power attack, obviously. Anytime you're using two-handed weapons, you want power attack. Then weapon focus slashing weapons. So there you go. That's basically how that played out. And that was it. And for my Destiny, let's see if I got my epic feats here. My legendary feat, of course, because I'm a melee, was Scion of Arborea. Ooh, that's me scrolling in the wrong direction. Epic feats were epic damage reduction and overwhelming critical. Destiny feats were crush weakness, double strike, first blood, and perfect two-handed fighting. There you go. It's a lot simpler to do these discussions on a fighter or a barber or whatever, because you don't have to actually discuss all the spell selections you made and why you made them. But that's it. It was a very good time. Very simple play style. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm absolutely going to come back to Dragon Lord fairly soon. I got to finish off my next life. So I'm going to be clearing out my TR to try something. I'm trying to work up the enthusiasm for, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe it won't be as bad as I thought. Normally I think things are going to be terrible, and it winds up not being all that bad. So we'll see how it goes. But that's it. Dragon Lord. Honestly, as it stands right now, kind of S tier. Straight up kind of S tier. If you haven't tried one, I would recommend doing it. But maybe give it a little more time. They probably should have let it cook a little bit more, because there's a bunch of things that didn't work the way they were supposed to. But even at that, it still worked great. It still was fantastic. It was still very strong. I never felt underpowered. I never felt overwhelmed. I did run Vecna Unleashed, Legendary Vecna Unleashed with my guildies at level 26, and even at that, I didn't feel overwhelmed. So yeah, it is very strong. Do bear in mind that I am a completionist and an epic completionist, and I do have +8 universal stat tomes and a whole crap load of past lives that really kind of mitigate the blows, so that helps. But yeah, again, even at that, it would still have been strong. So because again, the crowd control just makes so much of a difference to everything. But I think I am going to leave it at that. We'll try to keep it at least short by the standards I make of these. So I hope you got something out of this. Again, Dragon Lord, very strong. Give it a try if you haven't. I am going to clear my cache and TR, and I will talk to everyone again soon. So take care.